All right, in this video, we're going to talk about the backstory about getting rid of Satoshi Nakamoto once and for all to make sure that the world never finds out who he is, how it played out, and the somewhat breaking news from a gentleman by the name of Mr. Edgar Hansen about the actual blockbuster film and how it's going to go down. I'm going to make some predictions and give you some insights. So stay to the end. It's going to be a good one. So part of the reasons, give you some premise and backstory as to why I talk about this backstory about the original Bitcoin protocol, why it's important, why it's really interesting and fascinating. Because part of the reason is that sent me down the rabbit trail. When I first came across a blog by Andrew O'Hagan about the Satoshi affairs, and that really sent me down the rabbit hole about learning about who's who. Now, I'd followed the Kleiman case in 2018 when it first came out. So I'm not saying I was new and that, I'd already been very, very much in tune to what's happening when I was following Bitcoin Cash and all that stuff. So way before that. So that being said, but that Andrew O'Hagan article really kind of sent me down the rabbit trail with who's who. It's called Killing Satoshi. It's online. You could search for it. Now, part of that is this newer part of the story where this guy called Edgar Hansen comes into the picture. And you've got to think about like how disruptive this technology is. And, when Jeffrey Epstein and these people behind him or with him, you realized the actual nature about what Bitcoin could do and how it can completely make the old Web 2 financial system obsolete. They had to think of a way to stop it. So, they had created this narrative with Blockstream, block the stream of Bitcoin, get Adam Back and Gregory Maxwell and these people involved, and they're going to create this entire narrative, fund it with the, dark money. So anyways, the bottom line is that this premise about getting rid of Bitcoin and then getting rid of its creator has been going on for a long time. And that's how ultimately what the Kleiman case was about too, getting those Tulip Trust, control those Tulip Trust coins. Now, the COPA case that came out in 2022, where Dr. Wright was sued by COPA, countersued about the naming rights over the white paper of Satoshi Nakamoto, when he was declared under those 4 declarations to not be the creator of the Bitcoin system, to not be the author of the white paper, not be the under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto, and he's not allowed to use the name Satoshi Nakamoto out in public anymore. And so those things, along with so they've done a really good job at killing off his, and the only person who was the actual creator, right? The mastermind behind the system was Dr. Wright. But now they've done a great job legally about getting rid of that guy so that he never in a million years can ever come forward and say, oh, that was me, I was Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, he might actually, to kind of troll and have fun, the 2-year statute of limitations mark on that order by Judge Mudd, it looks like it's going to be coming up soon. I haven't read it in a while, but if I remember correctly, and it came up on the call on Sunday with Crypto Voyager, that there may be a possibility that Dr. Wright comes out, starts trolling everybody again, saying he's Satoshi Nakamoto, putting it up on his page and blogging like crazy about it again. Under the law, it might he might be allowed to do that. I'm not sure, so he'd have to check with his counsel on that. But that being said, the movie itself, the Killing Satoshi film, which is going to be an absolute blockbuster Hollywood A-list film. Okay, it's going to come out. I'm going to share, with you kind of the insight here on this post here in a second. But before I do, my prediction is it's going to come out in tandem with the documentary. Now, this post is going to give you some insight, so I don't have to feel like I'm revealing this information. This is already public. It was released improperly by this guy Edgar Hansen, who's been sanctioned and found in contempt of court in the UK, and he's on some house arrest. I don't know. He's in a lot of trouble in his country. So he's a bad actor, and he infiltrated Nchain, and he wanted to get control of the Nchain patents, and he wanted to take down Satoshi, and he also was running chief advisor for Dr. Wright during the COPA case. So he's running strategy for him, saying, Craig, let's have this trial. He dresses up in a wig and says, let's pretend we're going to do a mock trial. Now, that was against the rules. It was against the law. They're not allowed to do that, but he's running strategy on that. He's also running strategy on getting his counsel and his expert witnesses. Now, remember, the expert witnesses in the COPA trial, they admitted and agreed with COPA. So out of the gates, the 2 expert witnesses the COPA had, which was Madden and Rosenthal, Craig Wright's Edgar Hansen expert witnesses agreed with them. So right out of the gates, he's pretty much at a massive disadvantage, almost impossible to win that case because of the expert witness issue. Now, he brought forward an expert witness later to try to bring somebody in at the last second. That wasn't really heard. It wasn't looked at. And so those two expert witnesses problem that thanks to Edgar Hansen brought forward pretty much lost that COPA case for him. And the merits of the Satoshi thing never really got heard as a matter of law. And that's a fact. I'm telling you really what happened. That the expert witnesses were agreed with. Therefore, there was really not much to hear. Craig can go up on stand all he wants and call as many other witnesses as he wants, his sister and all these people, which were great, Matthews and these people. But it didn't really matter because under the law, when the experts are not rebutted and they're agreed with, so the case is over. Mellor's like, case over. He didn't even have to wait to make his decision because of that. So that's a little deep, high, it's a high overview on how the law works. But ultimately, that is what happened. Now, Edgar Hansen was running strategy on the case, Killing Satoshi, right? And then Edgar Hansen, when he was outed at Nchain as CEO and called out for extortion, coming into the office, pounding on the table. This is in the COPA trial. Matthews testified that he was pounding on the table as loud as he could with his fist and yelling and saying, "You give me what I want, or I'm gonna threaten you. I'm gonna do something against you." He was hostile to the actual, basically the chairman of the board, which was Matthews. And so Edgar Hansen he was exiled from the place, and he got him on camera, ransacking the entire place. He's been found in contempt. So what I'm saying here is all come out in court. He was wrong, and the court found him wrong. Okay, so this is not hearsay. He really is a bad actor in the case. So now what he did later on is he started releasing all this stuff, of course, privileged information, illegal. You're not supposed to do this, but he did it anyways, just out of spite because he wants money. I guess really not a really good strategy. He's not a good strategist because you never want to release information if you want money. I don't know why you would do that because now you can't get money because that's already out. So let's share exactly what he did. Daniel Street put out this post. It says, Edgar Hansen, a known critic of B.S. Vedel and Craig, leaked last year the premise of Killing Satoshi. Would be Craig's story about inventing Bitcoin. All right, so now here's the post. This is from December 3rd, 2025. Edgar Hansen. The upcoming film, Killing Satoshi, produced by Ryan Kavanaugh, was presented to Calvin for potential partial financing. All right, so this was an email from Calvin that Edgar Hansen shared. Now, this is a top secret email, but I'm sorry, Calvin. Not my fault. Edgar Hansen leaked this information. It's already on X, and until you can get it off, I'm going to have to talk about it. So we are looking at a $90 million budget. This is from Calvin to Craig. And Edgar Hansen must have been copied. We are looking at a $90 million budget and a movie called Killing Satoshi. It's about the guys attacking you, Craig, and how you survive and save the tech, save Bitcoin. This is a big enough budget to get A-listers and relevant layers, including a scriptwriter. We would need to come up with about 15 million, and he can raise the rest with pre-sales. We would use other people's money for this and have some other ideas. He is kind of independent studio, so he can move a lot quicker than most. You would have to remember that this process, however, this is Hollywood, and the details do not need to be accurate. It's got to be entertaining. The point of it is to have millions and millions of fans empathizing with what you have gone through as part of becoming part of our movement. This will be super powerful. This must be kept super top secret. Sorry about that. Nothing on the internet as we would want already a long way down the road before the attacks start. So it's now out. It's been released. This is 2025. We're 2026 now in March. And so it's definitely out. Now, this email to Craig from Calvin would have been definitely a few years back. Edgar Hansen's still in the reign at Nchain. So this would have been probably sometime in 2023 or sooner, maybe 2022. 2023 is probably a pretty good estimate of when this email took place. A win in Norway. There we go. This actually gives us so a win in Norway. So that would have been 2022 because the Norway trial hadn't been decided here when he wrote this email. So therefore, this was sent in 2022. So Calvin is looking at the script. It's a large $90 million budget. He's got to come up with $15 million for the film. This is 2022 because it's before Norway. It was decided. That's the Hollow case. And then that's what we have. Now, shortly thereafter this, we know that articles came out about the movie coming out, and it's happening. It was filmed when I was in London. And there's also a documentary. that's been filmed. Now, I've showed you what I can show you because that's online. But there is a documentary we know because that's been talked about. You know, the CoinGeek has put another documentary. That's about all the cases that are, and the backstory about Satoshi, Craig, and all this stuff that has been worked on. Now we know that was 2022 when the movie was being put out, it was being considered, and now it happened. So we know that it happened. You know, we saw the actors, the Wonder Lady from Wonder Woman, she's going to be in it. Casey Affleck is the main character. He's playing Craig, and then you got. You know, the one lady from Wonder Woman's playing someone else really important. And so, yeah, and then you got somebody else playing Calvin. I mean, Calvin's going to be, I'm sure, in the movie at some point, you know, he'll be played by somebody. So, but anyways, there's going to be a lot to it. It's coming out, and it's going to be a blockbuster. Now, I think it's going to be a massive, people don't really realize the effect of what that's going to be. Now, I get it. You know, if you're in the BRC 100 space, and you're Mitch Burchin and you're Babbage and these guys, you know, you want me to shut it up and forget about it and just talk about development. It's about the tech, utility, Web3 wallets. I get it, dude. I'm with you, man. That's really where it's at. You know, building applications, a utility is where it's at. That's exactly where it's at. And things like this, they are. While they're extremely entertaining, and I love talking about them because it's part of the backstory and it's fun. That's where it got me into this as a kind of a Gen X guy. You know, I'm like really interested in the backstory. You know, not the tech really. I didn't understand the tech all the way. I still don't. But the backstory is fascinating. So a lot of the people in my generation are going to be interested in this story, this backstory coming into it, and it's like the first entry into the, you know, the quote group, the cult, the fall, whatever the group. They call it a cult. They're the cult, but they call that's what they say. But once they kind of come in, they start to realize this tech, what it can all do, and how the Web3 infrastructure and the wallets, and it's the only way to scale on Bitcoin with Ethereum, and all these are things that aren't really exciting because Bitcoin is very boring. It's just a very boring system. It's built on machine code in Forth. So, I mean, at the base layer, it's not exciting at all. But this makes it fun and exciting and sexy. So I don't want to get people off point and think, go sit back and do nothing, you're going to get rich. Because the flippening is going to happen, but we have to have all the infrastructure and the wallets, you know, the wallet protocol, which is now set, BRC 100, all these things have to be in place, and the utility. And then we've got this, you know, this amazing thing with the OpenClaw building on Bitcoin right now. These things are all happening. These are the amazing things that are naturally happening. But this is where the lights start shining, and the freaking music gets real loud, and the marching band comes in, and the freaking, you know, and it's like the boom, 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 boom. The exciting Calvin Ayre style party comes in with this type of a big production for a $90 million A-list production called Killing Satoshi. Boom. Drop the hammer, bro. All right. When this comes, you know what time it is, because this has to be, see, the timing of this is important, because when that hits theaters, you got the documentary, you've got all this infrastructure, this wallet, all these things are kind of coming into place as we're lining up to this flippening. And then when it hits mainstream, by that time, we're looking at new laws in the US, you know, the Genius Act's already come out, the Clarity Act and these things. And the people are starting to realize, wait a second, this whole fourth machine code thing, blockchain actually works? We thought Bitcoin didn't do anything. Then with the large language models, these AIs and this Claude, amazing Claude code, and then of course the OpenClaw, dude, we're not dealing with people's, you know, the time that it takes people like it used to. We're dealing with the overnight switch, first on the economic side of the miners, where it's how economic is, they're going to mine the most profitable chain, but also how the bots work. Once the bots get the hang of it, these bots, the AIs, I'm telling you, the projects start switching and flipping so fast now. They're building up new applications in 5 hours. People who don't know how to build an application. That conference I was at in Berkeley, saying, "Oh yeah, sales team guys have never been on an application, built anything in their life. We did a little hackathon webinar thing in 5 hours. They built an application using Claude, a real one, and it worked." Like, what? So that's what's happening right now. People don't realize like the speed of this. Okay, so we're not living in the gold age and silver. Dude, I'm all about gold and silver and physical assets too. It's smart to hedge, you know, be diversified. But this is about hyper-Bitcoinization, the flippening. And the hyper-Bitcoinization is the flippening. That's what it is. Because we're staying on the fiat. That's going to still be around. We got the Genius Act. That's not going to go anywhere. We're going to have the stable coins, okay? But I'm talking about the flippening on the Bitcoins. That's the real big one. The BTC flippening. Yeah, I talk a lot of shit, but I mean it. And so it's going down. Killing Satoshi, Ayre Hansen, little backstory. And I've got a lot more to come on this. I'm kind of want to share some of my ideas. I'd like to do a live or something, man. I really break this down more, maybe do a book on it because it's such a fascinating story. You know, it's really fascinating story. But yeah, all right, hit the ones, share the video. And what do you think? Is it going to be really about Greg? I don't even, do I even need to ask that question? If you're not following this, you need to start following it because it's going down. All right. I'll see you at the top.